What's going on, people? It's your boy Travis, Horror Movies Uncut, Submissions and Slashers. We are back, episode number 54 on this Sunday, February 18th. Hope you guys are doing better than I am as I watch my Bayern Munich team lose another game, and they just look so terrible right now. It's hard to deal with, but that's neither here nor there, as we are here to talk to you about the industry news you need to know involving the independent film genre. So in today's episode, we got some special things for you. We are going to be doing a review for the film Red Right Hand. We also have an interview with the filmmakers and one of the stars of the film, and we're going to have those coming up on top of the next segment, so get ready for that. We're going to be kicking it off with the interview with both Esham and Ian Nelms, which is the directors, and then a little bit later in the show we have an interview with Mr. Scott Haze, who plays Finney in the movie. So we're super excited to get those guys for you. We do have another review in today's episode, and that's for the film The Cell Phone. Got a chance to finally watch that. We got some news on a couple films that kind of crossed over the surface last week that we figured you guys want to know about. Honestly, within the last 48 hours, there's been a ton of news coming out. So make sure, as always, you know where to find us at HMUNCUT. That's Horror Movies Uncut. The website is .com. After that, HMUNCUT. That's where you get those daily updates and news stories about all the stuff that we're talking about in the independent film world. So we got some updates on stuff for that. We got weird news of last week. And of course, we got what the hell is streaming next week. We will not be talking about any big budget action thrillers because we want to save that time for these interviews. Both interviews are about 10 and a half minutes or so. So we're going to try to make sure we get through the review process and the news process pretty fast so that we can give you guys as much time to dig into these interviews, which are fantastic about this film. So what we're going to do is we're going to hop right back in, give a quick review for Red Right Hand, and then we're going to come back with that first interview. So hit that subscribe, like button, Spotify, YouTube, you know where to find us. We'll be right back. Submissions and Slashers, episode number 54. Super excited to talk about this movie from the two brothers, Esham, which I apologize, I call him Isham at the beginning, Esham and Ian Nelms. It's written by Jonathan Easley, who they give a lot of credit to in the interview as well. The name of the film is Red Right Hand, and it's a film we've been talking about on Horror Movies Uncut's website for the past couple days. It is starring Orlando Bloom, it is starring Andie MacDowell, and it is also starring Mr. Scott Haze, who we will be showing an interview with later. So let's get into the details. What is Red Right Hand about? Think of any Appalachian southern town where you still kind of have that roadhouse vibe going on, where there's some person who is still kind of in control of everybody in that area. Usually there's a big family. Usually it's some, name associated with this character. And in this film, it is Andie MacDowell, and she plays this character by the name of Big Cat. Now, Orlando Bloom, Scott Haze are our main two guys in the film because we're following them. They're brothers, kind of like the filmmakers, and this amazing young lady by the name of Savannah Chapel Oaks is her real name, and she is someone that you guys will definitely have to keep an eye out for. She's still so many parts of the film, and it's always nice when you have a young character in the film that just does not trust the adults, right? Every minute she's like, all right, what are y'all talking about now? Because we were all like that as kids, I feel like. And if you don't nurture stuff like that, you end up having morons. But if you do nurture, you end up having like some of the smartest people you could ever find, some of the most conversational people you could ever find, right? And it's just because they've been in that environment where they've been allowed to ask questions. I'm a big fan of allowing your kids to ask questions, because if they do not ask questions or not allowed to ask questions in their own household, then don't ever expect them to be able to fight for themselves and have some accountability for themselves outside of that household, because they're not going to be able to trust who they are. You know, you got to be able to trust who you are in the house before you step out. And family is something that's really big in Red Right Hand. And not only on Cash and Finney's side, but even on Big Cat's side. That's one of the things that sticks out. You can tell right off the bat that this is one of those small town takeover films, one man army films, right? Walking Talls, Roadhouse, films like that, where someone is the oppressor and someone who used to work for the oppressor, which we find out is Cash, is coming after them. So Red Right Hand comes out next Friday. I'm not going to get into the details of any spoilers on the film. Everything that I've said, you can pretty much get from the synopsis and the trailer. You guys will see our review pop up Thursday morning for the film, possibly Wednesday night. It's already done. I'm just trying to figure out what type of time frame I want to release it. I think it's going to do extremely well. People who are fans of Orlando Bloom, ladies, y'all going to be all over this movie. I told my mom about this, you know what I mean? And she was all over it. I told some of my lady friends that I trained. They were like, Orlando Bloom ain't got no shirt on. He doing pull-ups for like 5 minutes. Okay, I'm in. But it is just a really good, like, Southern action crime thriller. You know what I mean? The movies I grew up on, the Big Bad Mamas, all those, you know, and you get those Hatfield, McCoy vibes. You know what I'm saying? Like, all those things are so important. They kind of create a backbone to the American society. And you forget that there's certain areas that stuff like this still goes on. But I think right now, as you'll see me talk about in this upcoming interview with the directors, it's even more important that you see kind of this totalitarian rule, because there is a possibility that we may have somebody on the red side, if you may, that might be trying to take us in that direction. So, you know, it's not that, you know, and hey, the Nelms boys even said it themselves. They don't have a responsibility in film, and they shouldn't. The book writers shouldn't. Animation design artists shouldn't. There is no response. We are not supposed to educate our kids on what's right and wrong. The parents are, you know, but we do live in this world where parenting is not really that a thing anymore. People don't want to be parents anymore. People want to be young, have fun, and we live in Never Never Land right now. So movies like Red Right Hand, I think, are super important and super, super worthy to watch, because they are stark reminders that when you think you live in Never Never Land and you don't have any rules and you don't have any consequences, you never know, like, how dire somebody might be to make sure you get yours, you know? There's an animation that I'm watching that I wanted to watch a long time ago. And I know the video game did a lot of great stuff, and it's called Gungrave. And Gungrave has a lot of these elements in them too, because it's about betrayal. It's about, you know, wanting to escape and not ever getting a chance to. And I definitely got to give a shout out to Garrett Dillahunt. If you are a fan of the Walking Dead series, especially Fear of the Walking Dead, he played John, the shooter. Like, see, he was one of the best characters on the show, and man, he kills it in this as the Reverend, who also, you know, has some run-ins with Big Cat. So Andy McDowell, man, fuck, she kills this movie, dude. You guys are gonna be it's gonna, like, if you've never really seen her in any type of role like this, and that's the best thing about it, is to see her in this role and to see how busy she can get. But look, instead of me constantly going in, why don't I just let you guys hear from the filmmakers themselves? So hit all those likes and subscribes, because as I tell you all the time, we do talk to people behind the films that we are talking about on Horror Movies Uncut and the Submissions and Slashers podcast. So we're going to hop out, and when we come back, we got Mr. Isham. We got Esham. Sorry. See, I can't get rid of that Isham, man. That's just in me. We got Mr. Esham, and we got Mr. Ian Nelms coming up. The filmmakers behind Red Hot. I am just destroying all this. Let me do this one more time. We're going to come back. And when we come back, we have an exclusive interview with Esham and Ian Nelms, the filmmakers behind Red Right Hand. So don't you go anywhere, Submissions and Slashers. I told y'all I get it. We'll be right back. Episode 54. It's like Club 54. Episode 54. Let us Get going. What's going on, people? It's your boy Travis, Horror Movies, Uncut, Submissions, and Slashers. We just got finished talking to Scott Haze. Now it's time to talk to the two men behind the film, Red Right Hand. And I am talking to Mr. Isham Nelms and Mr. Ian Nelms. And Isham, you got like the blackest white dude name I've ever heard in my life. I was like, and the funny thing is, I was like, I gotta look these guys up to make sure I'm not talking to some brothers because I'm like, this is like it's Isham, Keyshawn, Deshaun. I'm like, there's all types of going on. But fellas, first and foremost, how we doing today? How you guys doing on this Thursday?
We're doing brilliant, man. And I will say, I got to thank my parents for that. The hippie parents. They named me after the valley in the Central Valley, California. So there you go. There's the origin right there.
Fantastic. That was literally the first thing I was going to be like, is where'd you get that name from? So I love it. It's always coming from a mama. You guys got pickleball paddle boards in the back there. Who's the pickleball dude? Who's the pick?
Right here, right here. Yeah. I love it, man. I'm addicted, hopelessly addicted.
Okay, man, you got to just be careful because I found out that it's kind of like that Progressive commercial where if you start playing it too much, you start acting like your parents a little bit too much. So you got to be careful with that. So, but anyway, fellas, let's talk about Red Right Hand, man. Like this is a movie that I wish my father was still alive. My father was a John Wayne fan. My father was like a dark Southern crime thriller, gritty film fan. So this movie would have been right up his alley. So first and foremost, man, I love the overall look and vibe that was created with the film. So Ian, I'll kick off with you. Where did you guys shoot Red Right Hand? And tell me a little bit about the selection of the area. Was this someplace you guys seen before? Did you always know you wanted to shoot here? Had you used this place before? Like, tell me a little bit about this area that we've created that Big Cat is kind of in control of.
So we shot in Louisville, Kentucky.
All right.
Yeah, and the script called for that sort of Appalachia vibe.
Right.
And even though that's right on the sort of edge of the Appalachia, we really dug because there's a lot of haulers and it's got that vibe around.
It's the old bourbon trail country.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah,
the heart she holler, dog. The heart she holler for sure.
Yeah. I mean, this is literally where like bootlegging alcohol was.
Right.
We drove all over the place for a few weeks looking for those locations, and with Johnny Durango, our DP, who we've made 5 or 6 films with now at this point. So obviously we got a shorthand with Johnny, and man, those locations we shot in spring in Louisville, and
Okay.
they're beautiful and they're incredible, but they were really rough to shoot in because of tornadoes, because of lightning storms.
Yeah, Scott was saying there was some weather issues going on like crazy.
Incredible.
I think that's a mild way to put it.
It was so but
like all of a sudden Jack Harlow showed up on your set and shit. Like it got wild. Like,
we've never dealt with weather like that before, and it was intense.
And I think that's of the people there, right? They
Yeah.
deal with nature and the elements
Yep.
that are around them, right? It's a harsh environment.
So there's
Right.
there's that feel to it, and thankfully, it's in the location, it's in the environment. But I mean, that's what you do, right? You try to find the best places to shoot that sort of
Mhm.
embody that script, embody those characters, and we landed in Louisville and found it.
Yeah, man, I think you guys hit a nail on the head because, like you were saying earlier, Isham, the people from those areas, they are a little bit more grittier. They are a little bit more rougher around the edges. So it's almost like you don't even have to try. Like that atmosphere is kind of already there for you guys, and you were able to just like dig straight in. The story, okay? Like, tell me just a little bit of like why should, if you had to walk up to somebody on the street and they're like, man, I got to tell you about this story about this guy named Cash. Like, why is this story important? Where did this come from? And why are we focusing on Cash? And then we get to see Finney and everything going on with the family. Like what? Because like fellas, this has layers where I'm almost like, was this a graphic novel that I missed somewhere? Because there's like a lot of stuff that you can tell is coming from Cash previous that we don't know about his life. But where did this overall story for Red Right Hand come from? And Isham, you could drop into this one, man.
Yeah, for sure. So it came from the mind of Jonathan Easley, who was
Okay.
a writer. And when we read the script, honestly, the characters, the dialogue, it all just leapt off the page. And we love the intermingling of the themes. And that just grabbed us and reeled us in. And obviously, Ian and I love a good action thriller, so it's like,
Yeah.
let's go. I think I don't know. Like, what do you think, Ian, I don't know. Sorry, help me again. I'm a little lost.
Yeah, did
Like-
I catch back up to the question?
Just like where the original story came from and kind of why Cash became like the, what was the
Alright.
significant thing about that made him kind of the central portion from the beginning.
And what would we tell people that
Yeah, if you met somebody on the street and they were like,
that was
and you're like, man, I got to tell you about this guy named Cash. You know what I mean? Like,
so for us, it was absolutely the characters in this that first and foremost launched us into the script and got us tied in. So I mean,
Yeah.
that family element,
yeah,
you watch the family, you get tied into them, and then they start getting into a lot of trouble really quickly. So I love the family elements of it,
hmm
and I love following characters into situations where things get pear shaped real quick. And you're wondering how they're going to be able to get themselves out of it, and you're so invested with this family that you want to see how they're going to get out,
right.
And Ashram and I mean, thankfully the script was so good when we started with it, but there was a little bit of a development process, and Ash and I were just really trying to push those action sequences. And
I got you.
thankfully, Jonathan was an amazing collaborator and dove straight into those, and was helping us push them. So,
But I would say this is a story of redemption,
Right,
survival, and a family, right? It's such things
right,
like
for sure.
tattooed literally on their necks, but that's what the themes are. That's what the story's about. That's the crux of it.
I got you. And Ash, tell me a little bit about Orlando, though. Like, what pirate ship did he come in? What was kind of like? No, just really though. What was like? How was it working with him? And then, like, to be able to work with somebody like Andy. I mean, she's a legend. And I mean, when I was telling some of my like clients, some women in their like. A lot of my clients are women over 50. When I mentioned her name and I said, I was like, well, she's the one you're going to want to see. They were so surprised to see that she was in this movie. I showed them the trailer. They were blown away by seeing her character and what she's portraying in the film. How is it working with Orlando and Andy? Tell a little bit about that.
Yeah, for sure. So we sat down with Orlando right after we did a movie called Small Town Crime,
Okay.
and we just bonded with the guy. We really liked him. We hit it off great. We talked about movies, but we also just talked about each other's personal interests. And so
Mhm.
when Red Right Hand landed on our desk and we read it, it just screamed Orlando to us. He was
Yeah.
like the first person we thought of. We knew he loved dirt bikes. So we're like, oh, Cash, dirt bikes. Like,
That's what's
we've
up.
never seen Orlando do a gear like this, and that really
Yeah.
excited us. So we went to him, fingers crossed, that it would resonate with him and that he'd want to do it. I'll let you take it.
yeah, and similar with Andy, she was on our list and we liked her a lot. Obviously,
Okay.
she's a legend. We love her.
Right.
We're big fans of her work, but we just didn't think that this was going to be anything that she would be interested in because we'd never seen her do anything like it before.
Right. Yeah.
Thankfully, her agent passed it to her because it was going around the agencies, and she said, "Hey, I think this might be something you'd be interested in." She read it, loved it. We got on a Zoom call with her, and holy cow, like we were just really blown away by her take on the character, that edge she brought even into the meeting.
Yeah.
And she made a really funny joke with us. She was just like, I can do this. I know that this isn't something that's on my pedigree in the past. She's like, but just ask my kids. Like she's like,
yeah. Yeah.
like, I have this in me. I have this
Yeah.
in me, and I think it'd be a lot of fun to play. So
Yeah.
she really came out and gave us everything she had. And she was vicious, man. She was vicious in the role.
Dude, she gave me Roadhouse vibes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that, like the whole entire time. I'm like, fuck. I'm like, man, like you do not mess with Big Cat, bro. Like at all. Man, I could talk to you guys for hours about this film because some of the stuff you guys did in the film, it's just wrong. Like, I'm like, no, they didn't. Like, did they really just do that? And that's what makes the film exactly what it should be. So, look, Ian, I'm not going to take too much more of your time. I would like for you guys both to kind of answer this. I talked to Scott a little bit about this too. I think the world we live in right now, it's kind of a crazy climate, right? Like I'm here in St. Louis, Missouri, and I'm sure you guys probably heard about what happened in Kansas City yesterday with the Super Bowl parade and the shooting and stuff. I think it's a very fear-based climate we got going on in this world right now, and it makes a film like Red Right Hand, even though it's like a gritty crime thriller, it almost kind of becomes a horror film because of how real it is, and because we do still have some of these societies where we got like this, you know, the person living on the hills taking over everything. You know what I mean? Like, do you guys feel like your film is really, really appropriate for this time period and what we're seeing? I mean, I don't mean to call out anything, but I mean, Donald Trump did just call out saying he's going to start a red state army when he gets back in. And you guys got a movie called Red Right Hand, and it's got guns. You know, Kevin Smith made a movie called Red Army back in Red State back in the day. I think you guys really touched that. Do you feel that it does kind of go with what's going on in society and the climates, because these seem to be things that never go away in America, these big families kind of taking over everything? What do you guys think?
I think look, for us, it's the story of these two families, right? Big Cat's putting her thumb on the community. Cash is trying to get out from under it.
It's definitely a story as old as time, though. I mean, there's always the sort of those Western tropes, right? Of the Hatfields and the McCoys.
Right.
You know, it's always been around. So, I mean, yeah, I get it. Like with times are crazy right now, but I don't know. There's always been movies like this. You know what I mean?
And I will say, like, Ian and I were raised on a steady diet of these movies. You know, we grew, like, honestly, we were watching Terminator and the likes when we were very young kids.
Yeah.
And Dirty Harry and
right.
I have no inclination.
Bad Lieutenant.
Yeah. I have no inclination towards gun violence.
Right.
So, you know, for me, it's not a movie problem.
Right.
Yeah. For us, this is just purely entertainment. I mean, yeah, there is for us as filmmakers, we love to make things as realistic as possible, but also make them as entertaining as possible. And I think that there's definitely sort of a wish fulfillment vibe to this film, as far as like, oh, hey, I wish I was this badass,
right,
who was up to his decade and was able to do something about it. You know,
are we going to start banning comic books? Are we going to start banning books? You know what I'm saying? I guess that's right. The problem.
We're going to start banning paddle boards and pickleball matches and stuff. Right.
It's a societal issue we need to address. It's not the art.
That's right, brother. So, fellas, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to let you go because I know you guys got busy schedule, but I really appreciate you dropping in Submissions and Slashers, Horror Movies Uncut. You will like the review. I am going to be making sure to spread the news on this movie because I think people are really going to enjoy it. So thank you guys for your time. Have a lovely rest of your day and appreciate you, fellas.
Thank you so much, Travis.
All right. Have a good one, fellas.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Okay, people, welcome back. Submissions and Slashers. If you don't know me, I'm your host, Travis, from the illustrious family known as Horror Movies Uncut. I don't even know if I did that on the intro. Hopefully you guys like that interview. The Nelms guys were great to talk to. They gave a lot of good insight for where they picked a location, which we found out was Louisville, Kentucky, and you just really got the feeling that there was so much like admiration they had for working with Orlando and working with Andy. And these guys are some accomplished filmmakers. Like, they're going to be probably fairly new to our neck of the woods, but if you look at their IMDb page or any Letterboxd page or anything, you'll see these guys got some stuff that have won some awards and everything. So I got a feeling we're going to be hearing from the Nelms boys relatively soon again, and I'll be looking forward to it because I really enjoyed Red Right Hand. Oh, and we gave it a 3.5 out of 5. Horror Movies Uncut. You guys will see that when the review comes out. So speaking of reviews, we got another film that we got a chance to see, and I was super excited that I actually got 2 in last week. The Cell Phone, Luke Sommer and Rachel Sommer, they wrote and directed this film. It's one of those films that was kind of a festival darling, so it stayed out there for a little bit. I think it was actually completed last year, but now it's getting its release, and you're starting to see some reviews, and we've been talking about it as it's being released. I think it either came out last week or is coming out this week. So anyway, a couple things you'll really enjoy. You get the illustrious voice of Malcolm McDowell throughout the film as he doesn't make any appearances, but he plays the caretaker. And in the film, we find a young lady who is staying at this house, kind of like an Airbnb situation, to get away and just kind of disconnect because her fiance tragically passed away. And he passed away some weird circumstance involving a cell phone. And as soon as she kind of gets in isolation and starts to kind of put her pieces of her life back together, Wynn, played by Whitney Rose Penn, she starts seeing and hearing some weird things emulating from her own cell phone that kind of provides like the supernatural side to the film. Justin Malik Jackson plays Chris in the film. And one thing that I will say, very welcome addition of having this brother in the film. He's a very talented young man. I've seen him in a couple things. He kind of steals a lot of this film, but it's kind of, I think, the role of his character to do so. So one of the things that I really appreciate about what he added to the film is it allowed even Whitney's character to flourish, because I think if she had to deal with a lot of this on her own, which she still does, the movie pacing wise just really wouldn't go the way you would want, you know. It would be a little too slow. And even still with that element, it still was a lot of moments that was very, very like just the time just kind of went on and you're like, okay, we kind of get what's going on here. But it's a lot of stuff in this film that's written pretty well, that it does lead you to want to make sure you kind of get an end result. And I always tell people, if you make a film and people want to see your film all the way to the end, even if they're not really enjoying it, though, the entire thing per se, you still accomplish exactly what you're supposed to do, because you still grab them enough to make them want to see what happened, right? And usually, I mean, how many films have we watched where, you know, it didn't start off so great, but man, by the middle and the end, it just snatched you in a way you didn't think of? And the cell phone's got a couple moments like that, but I think, you know, I think if they would have added a little bit more action to the film, it would have made it a tad bit more satisfying. But there is an audience for, you know, your slow burning kind of dredging films. And I understand why there's a lot of reviews out that like people really, really enjoyed. So we'll get our review out. Like I said, this film came out, I think Valentine's Day is when it came out. So we'll get our review out probably later tonight so you guys can get the full rundown and read. We give it a 2 out of 5 here at Horror Movies Uncut, which is not per se the best review number we could give, but in the same token, like I said, there were some things that we enjoyed about the film. There's just a lot of missing. You know what I mean? It's just one of those films where you're like, and if it was a film that was, you know, done over the pandemic, because we still do have a couple of those films out there, it would even make more sense of why there's some lacking moments in the movie. But I still think there's enough parts of it where, you know, there will be an audience that will find a lot that they would enjoy out of it. Just wasn't really my cup of tea. I wanted to like cell phone so much more. So, but that is out right now. Look for our further review on the website. And then what we're going to do is we're going to hop back in. We got to jump into some news, talk about some various news stories that circulated that we think you guys should know about. Don't go anywhere. Horror Movies Uncut, Submissions and Slashers, episode 54. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Submissions and Slashers, episode 54. We're going to jump through some news real quick so we can get you guys to the final interview with Mr. Scott Haze from Red Right Hand. And once again, hope you guys enjoyed the previous interview. So in the news world, we're going to start off with some news from the folks over at Utopia. So they have a new film that's going to be hitting theaters March 22nd up at the IFC Center in New York. We know we do a lot of coverage up there It's like one of my summertime goals. I need to go up there and actually visit the IFC Center. I have written stuff about this place for years and have been to New York recently and still have forgotten to go over there and actually see the IFC Center. So I'm trying to make that a personal goal by the end of the summer to get my ass back up to New York and actually attend something at the IFC Center. But Film is this new film that's starring Nathan Stewart Jarrett from Candyman and George McKay, written directed by Sam Freeman and En Chong Ping. And it is a queer, kind of romantic, dark thriller. And it's about this just like kind of drag queen superstar of the city who's played by Nathan, who looks like from the trailer to be extremely killing this role, who goes out one day for a smoke and gets harassed by these guys. One of the guys, beats them almost, to the brink of like having to go to the hospital, I believe. And then they see one of the guys at one of the kind of more gay, queer, like bath club places. Like there's these clubs that people go to that are like bathhouses, and normally you'll find queer people kind of frequenting these places. A lot of cruising and stuff goes on at these places. And what you normally find out, which is kind of what the film is really about, you find out that there's usually some guys that are like hidden. You're kind of closeted gay men are usually found in places like this because they're kind of off the beaten path. And in the movie Film, of course, Nathan's character at the bathhouse is not as done up as its drag character. So there's it becomes this little spider's web of a weave of a movie where you're finding out that his character is, in a sense, kind of seducing with the intent of revenge, because they have no idea that they're kind of being stalked by a person that they did bodily harm to. So it's got a lot of dark undertones to it. It won a lot of independent films. It premiered at Fantasia. So it's one of those films that, man, it's got a lot of legs. And I think, even people, Horror Movies Uncut has been an ally since day one and forever will be. And one thing we will always say is we don't even look at these films really as queer films. We look at these as just potentially great thrillers. And this has great thriller written all over it. The trailer's deep. If you have not had a chance to look at the trailer on Horror Movies Uncut's website, please go over there right now. FEMME. Check it out. It looks good. Okay. Moving on. Sasquatch Sunset is a film that is going to be at South by Southwest. And of course, we're going to get pretty much everything news-wise we can from South by Southwest here in the next couple weeks. A couple of the films are going to be probably getting a little bit more love than the others. Cuckoo is a film that we've already talked about a few times just to kind of give you an idea. But another film is Sunset, or Sasquatch Sunset, which comes from Blecker Studios. It's a David Zellner and Nathan Zellner film. It's got Riley Keough, Jesse Eisenberg, Nathan Zellner's also in this, and Christoph Zajac-Denik, I believe is how they say his name. But these guys are all dressed as Bigfoots, okay? Like they're Sasquatches, and it's kind of this Sasquatch journey movie where they might be the last of their kind. They don't know, but they're looking for some place where they can kind of make their final resting home. So as you saw from the Red Band trailer that they on purpose put out first, there's a lot of weird shit going on with some Sasquatch humping. There's some Sasquatch penises. There's some, I don't know. I think the thing is they're trying to make sure that these Bigfoot creatures are still as primal as they possibly could be, but it is a comedy, so we'll see how it goes. Like I said, it's going to be making its premiere down at South by Southwest, and we posted the new trailer and the poster last week on our website. So I mean, I know we'll see it. I know we'll get it. I don't even know if I'm looking forward to it, but we'll see. Uh, one film that I am gonna promote here because of kind of the copyright stuff that had been going on. We had Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, or Blood and Sugar or whatever, and you already got the second one out now. So clearly they had no problems jumping in the minute that copyright infringement stuff was over. For Winnie the Pooh, you have Peter Pan. They got that Neverland movie. You got right now people working on like Mickey Mouse horror films because Steamboat Willie is up. But another character that people might not be thinking about that's also in this realm is Cinderella. Yes, Cinderella, which I feel like there's some low-key beef somewhere because like I feel like you can say Cinderella is a Disney creation, even though like I think the Cinderella story is actually older than Disney. It's almost like Disney was like Netflix for Cinderella. You know what I mean? They bought the story, just kind of made it a little bit better, threw a budget behind it. Here we go, right? So Cinderella, though, now that she's on this copyright over, like her copyright stuff's over, you're gonna more than likely see some movies about her, and we already got one coming, which is called Cinderella's Revenge. Now the crazy thing about Cinderella's Revenge is it really just kind of looks like your typical kind of revenge movie. It's just got the whole storyline behind Cinderella involved in it. So what you're seeing here is Cinderella getting back at the wicked stepmother and the two evil sisters, right? But also in this, we got the fairy godmother joining the mix, and the fairy godmom about to step up with her. Look, the trailer looked crazy, but it still looked kind of fun. They got some well-known young ladies in here. Natasha Henstridge, Lauren Sterick, which I'm not too familiar with the stuff that they're in, but I know these names do ring bells from the stuff that they're in. It's going to be a film that I think when people get a chance to watch it, they will. I'm not trying to say that the theaters are going to be lined up for this whatsoever, but it looks fun enough where it could get like a nice little cult following behind it. And hey, man, I think that's kind of the overall point with some of these films. Like the minute Superman and and DC can't just hold the rights for him anymore, and you can make like whatever Superman movie you want to, you're going to be seeing all types of crazy stuff like this. So I just want somebody to make the movie where like the superheroes just really have to do like real life shit, like go to work and stuff like that. And they just hate living as a normal human and they can't wait like to be back in superhero world. And I think that's what then I'll tap out of these. But for right now, Cinderella's Revenge, Cinderella's wicked stepsister, stepmom push her too far, leading her to swap glass slippers. And then after the night's over, some bad things happen. And she's like, you know what? Enough is enough. Boom. Going after her. So, yeah. Interesting. April 26th is when this is going to be coming out. So you might see a little bit more, probably a little clip. Hopefully Staley and the crew over there can give us some love with like a little clip or something coming up pretty soon for the film. Emma Kelly and the rest of the bunch over there. So anyway, that is the news that you need to know from the film world. When we come back, we're going to be talking about some weird news of last week. And then we're going to jump into what the hell is streaming next week, give our indie film shout out from below the grave, and then we will wrap up the show with the interview with Scott Haze. So last segment before the interview coming up. Don't go anywhere. Episode number 54. Right, people, submissions and slash. We're back. Sub and slash. Episode number 54. Hope you guys all had a good Valentine's Day. If you celebrate it, if you don't celebrate it, don't hate on the people who were celebrating it. Like, let whatever happiness people, as long as they are not like touching children or like being racist or something, like let them people get their candy and their flowers and stuff. Now, I will say, man, it is overload when you walk in the grocery store and you know what I mean? Like, I don't have anybody to buy anything for, I give my moms and them the little text, stuff like that. But It is kind of overwhelming when you walk in the store and the displays are just no joke, and it's just letting you know that people are still kind of going down that path. But the day after Valentine's Day, for one woman, she was waiting on her tacos to be delivered by DoorDash. And ladies and gentlemen, when you see me getting into stories like this, clearly it must be time for weird news of last week, because there is, the thing that's been going on with Ring cameras more than anything is people have been able to highlight how much stuff gets stolen off of people's fronts, right? Like, you live in the hood, you live in the city or something like that, it's kind of a common thing that you might want to be home when your packages get there. You might want to have somebody that is home watch your packages for you. Like, I remember one apartment that I lived in, we had like this gated area where like the guys could put the packages in there, but people could not walk in. Like, they could just either lift it over or slide it through. And as long as it wasn't something too big, like, we never would have any problems. And we, like, person I was living with at that time, like, we were next door to like a very public restaurant bar location that we could have always gotten stuff stolen. But I mean, the girl that I was with at the time, she ordered like just as much stuff, probably even more than I did, and it was never a problem. So, the stealing the stuff off the front porch is definitely something that's been brought into light with TikTok, Ring cameras, and the like. But how would you like to open up your Ring camera one day and you got a group of raccoons coming up and stealing your food? Fam, this probably might be one of the funniest weird news stories of the week, right? Now, it's hard to top a young man going around taping fish to ATM machines. I am never going to understand that. But every once in a while, life, nature just gives you a couple of little glimpses that there is still some things going on when you are not even paying attention. And this woman down in Florida, she woke up. I mean, she didn't wake up. She noticed that she'd been ordering from this place, Talking Tacos, and she said that one day she ordered it, she actually ordered it before she got home. She pulled up and there's 3 raccoons sitting in front of her door eating her tacos. Fam, when you see stuff like that, these raccoons, this is not the first time they did this, and they probably got that whole neighborhood mapped out. I'm not mad at them. Them dudes, they done probably had chicken fingers, pad thai. They done had some French fries, because everybody gets French fries, no matter how soggy they are. In DoorDash, people still will order French fries. But we got air fryers now, so people will take care of that French fry with their air fryer. But man, I thought it was completely funny. Katerina Severes, West Palm Beach. She opened up her apartment door to find 3 raccoons sitting there getting their grub on, man. It was so funny. So that is our weird news of the week. Kind of funny, kind of quick, just to get you guys a little something to continue on with the day, to put a little smile, if you may, on that demented little face of yours you got. So, big budget action film this week. We're not going to showcase any. You got the Madame Web out there, which is what most of the kids are seeing. Still kind of up in the air if I'm going to see that. Did see the Book of Clarence finally the other day. Really enjoyed that. A little longer than I wanted to be. Still haven't seen The Beekeeper. Thinking about watching it today. Thinking about it. I don't know. See how long this editing takes, right? But we're going to hold off until next episode to make sure that we got some good action stuff for you guys to talk about, because there is a couple films in the next few weeks that look pretty good. So, indie film shout out from below the grave. There's this movie called The Omnicron Killer that it seems to be getting like a lot of love, because we posted a story about it the other day where they're getting like a full theater release. They got like special screenings going on, and it looks like there's almost like a nice little following behind this. Bayview put the film out. It's about a copycat serial killer killing his last victim on the anniversary of the death of the original killer. So it's kind of one of those just old school slasher films with kind of a new age tick to it. It's Jeff Knife's film. It's got Bai Ling in there. You know, Bai Ling's been around forever. Felissa Rose is in here. The Scream Queen, Felissa Rose. You know who she is. If you don't, Sleepaway Camp fam. And then it's got Lynn Lowry, who was in the original Shivers and the original Crazies by George Romero. So it's got some, like, you know, classic movie people in here. And it looks like they are really doing they got a great push behind this film. I love that I, you know, see multiple screenings at various theaters around Brooklyn, Glendale, it looks like Cali. I mean, it looks like they got some good screenings going on. So good for them. Some of the screenings also have Q&As. There's some coming up next week. There's one Thursday, the 22nd, Friday and Saturday. So all the screenings will be going on next week. We have not watched the Omnicron Killer. We do have it. It is on the list. I am going to try to get to it. Hopefully I can get a chance to watch it. If I do, I will let you guys know when I'll get a review out on the next episode. Okay. All right. So that is our indie film shout out from Below the Grave. People, we are going to jump into the final portion of the show, which is the interview with Scott Haze. He plays Finney in the film Red Right Hand. Hope you guys all enjoy it. Please don't ever hesitate to give us comments and feedback. The only thing it does, it makes us better. Submissions and Slashers, episode 54. We'll be back to wrap up the show. Check out this interview. Hit that like and subscribe. Give us money for these interviews.
Thank you.
All right. Awesome. Scott, Travis, Submissions and Slashers, Horror Movies Uncut. So awesome to have you on, man. We are talking about Red Right Hand, which is this amazing film. 1 second, I got something popping up on the screen here, and I got a couple questions, man. If you don't mind, thank you so much for your time. First and foremost, I'd like to know, how are you doing on this afternoon?
I'm good. I'm grateful to be here, and I appreciate you talking to me about this movie I love.
Awesome. And then, where are you currently located?
I'm currently in Santa Monica, California.
Oh, okay. So I'm located here in Missouri. Santa Monica is a beautiful place to be this time of year. And, you know, curious to how your new year's starting and how's things going with your holiday season over now, going into the spring. How's things going out in your way?
Yeah, every day I'm grateful, you know, I mean that honestly. If I'm alive and healthy with what's going on in the world today, I'm really blessed. So I just got only gratitude.
All right. Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate it. So we're talking about your character, Finney, right? And we're talking about this amazing film by the Nelms brothers. And first and foremost, you know, your character is one of those guys that, like, I initially hate when I see in the film, but then you get to find out that there's so many layers that, like, involve a character like Finney. So the first question that I would ask you is just kind of tell me your thoughts on your character, Finney. And then, have you personally lost someone very, very close to you in your life? Because I'm always kind of curious if that kind of helps dictate your role and the route you decide to go with your role in the film.
It's a really good question. Yeah, I've known a lot of people who have destroyed their lives with drinking and drugs. I think the statistics were the number one cause of death was fentanyl overdoses last year.
Yeah, man.
And I've known some people that have died. We all have. It's at this point, and that's what I think is really, you know, sad that Finney's dealing with. And a lot of people, when they lose a loved one, they turn to the bottle. And
yeah.
I think that's what he did. And that's very common, and I've seen it. And that is why I'm grateful for every day, you know, because you never know what's going to happen to somebody or what they're really secretly going through or anything. Yeah, it's really a touching element to the story.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, man. And like right off the bat, though, Scott, like your vibe is like completely 180. You know what I mean? As opposed to this character that you portray, man. So this is great, man. It just shows like right off the bat how much range you have as a person and what you can actually add layer wise to the character, man. So I really enjoyed a lot of what was written for Finney and what you guys were really dealing with Big Cat and all the, the problems that come with small town living, man. And I think this movie, and I would like to ask you, is very, very relevant, I think, for what's going on in the world, what we see right now. Like, I'm in Missouri. I don't know if you heard about what happened with the shooting up in Kansas City for the Super Bowl yesterday. Like, I think we're at this place where like fear is really kind of ruling the day. And I feel like Red Right Hand is showcasing a lot of that in the film. Do you agree with that? And do you agree that like Finney and these guys are kind of dealing with a lot of the stuff that like you and I are dealing with every single day?
Like, yeah, 1000%. I didn't, that's a really good way to look at it. And I know if there was a bunch of people in my town doing really bad stuff, so I'm not saying I would, but I might want to go defend the innocent and take down the bad guys. So yeah, it's a really good insight how it relates to what's going on today.
So let me ask you this, man. Are you a parent by chance?
I'm not a parent. I hope to be one day.
Okay. Awesome. So in this film, though, we see a man who is going through like the worst thing you could possibly go through, but yet still trying to be a parent too. Okay. Mm-hmm. How difficult do you think it is? And what were you kind of using as a little bit of a reference for your character on how difficult it is to be a parent who's trying to like make the world better, but it seems like every single thing you do might be the wrong step?
I think that, that's a good question. I think that, alcoholism is what Finney's really struggling with. That's where his solution is the alcohol for him in that moment. And his life is completely unmanageable, from taking care of the farm to making sure the bills are paid. Nobody's owed any money. It just, it's complete powerlessness and unmanageability for Finney.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Answer me this question. Okay.
Yeah.
A guy like Finney going through the darkness. Like I was telling my mom, I always got to talk to my mom about a good movie. That's how you know you got a good movie, because you call your parents and you're like, yo, you got to see this.
Yeah.
So I was trying to explain Finney, and I'm like, he's almost like the dad in Shameless, kind of. You know what I'm saying? On certain parts in the film. Answer me this. If Finney had a superhero power, what would that be in Red Right Hand?
You mean in the film?
Yeah, the character himself. If there was something, and I'm talking about looking at the entire length of the character, what goes through with him, or with Cash, with everything going on, like what would be that one trait that if you would say, man, that's what kept that dude alive, what would that be?
I think what kept him alive was, I don't want to spoil the movie, but there's a moment in the movie that he is fighting to maybe one day be able to experience with his daughter.
Yeah.
And once that happens, it feels like his fate has been kind of sealed.
Yeah.
And
it's almost like perseverance, you know what I mean? Like he's not stopping.
I think it's just grit. And I know a lot of alcoholics who are like that, who are just gritty people, and I'm like, how are you doing this? You're drunk right now. Or what I mean? They just have this certain gear of survival.
Yeah, I have friends through programs and stuff like that. And you actually even see after they've kind of conquered the alcoholism, that still kind of stays in them with whatever other tasks, So I feel like Finney would get his life together and then probably start doing CrossFit or something after this. You know what I mean? Like it's just that type of, it gets those types of depths, So, man, this has been great. I really, really appreciate you taking the time to talk, brother. I could talk to you about this character because this is such a great character. Tell me just real quick about the filmmakers, Orlando. You guys got Andy McDowell in this. I mean, like, this is some like phenomenal people. And then, of course, with your young cast member, Chapel Oaks. Tell me a little bit about how it was with the interactions with everybody and how fluidity, were you guys able to kind of play off of each other really good in the film, or was it just like, hey, we know what our job is, we're getting straight to it?
I think it was a little bit of both. These independent, we had a tight schedule, so there was not a lot of socializing as much as just like really a lot of intense work. I loved everybody on that film, and I think Chapel is such a find. I think she's going to have an amazing career ahead of her.
Big story.
And
Yeah.
it's really special to be part of her first film and kind of, show her a few things and just be there, to be of service. And yeah, it was a really special time with everybody.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Scott, man, it's been great talking to you. The last thing I'm going to leave you with, which is something that sounds to be kind of a common theme in this entire interview, man. What's one memory you'll have in your heart forever after being in this film and experiencing everything you guys did filming Red Right Hand?
I think the memory of there was a lot of storms that we endured on set, and the fact that we were able to get through this film with some of the weather conditions, it's kind of like what was going on in the movie about perseverance,
right?
How everybody stuck together, and even in the hard times, we got it done. And I think that's what families do.
Yeah, awesome, man. You hit it on the head, brother. This is grit. This is strong. This is just a very, very thick layered movie that I think a lot of people are going to like. And I think a lot of people are going to enjoy what you guys add to the table in the film. So Scott, thank you so much for your time, brother. I really, really appreciate it. Best of luck, man. I'll be paying attention to everything I see you in from this point on, man. So keep up the good work. Okay.
Thank you, man. Good to meet you today.
Not a problem, brother. You enjoy the rest of your day.
Submissions and Slashers, episode 54. Hope you enjoyed that interview with Mr. Scott Haze. A very cerebral dude. I mean, you could tell, man, he was he was talking about the love that he has for Red Right Hand. And I get it. I see, like, the levels that you would have to get into character for what he endures as his character Finney in the movie, and what Orlando Bloom and even what Andy McDowell gets busy with. I'm telling you, man, there are so many parts about this film that I was like, wow, I can't believe they did that. But I'm glad they did, because it just made the film even better than it was. Finney plays a pivotal role in the film. He is really the reason why the film exists in the first place. So we really appreciate Scott. We really appreciate Chelsea Peters, the rest of the fam out there, for setting up this interview. It was great to talk to them. Folks, we have more interviews being lined up for you. Don't go anywhere is what I always like to say, because we're going to always have something coming up for you on the next one. So we really hope you enjoyed the interview with Scott Haze from Red Right Hand. Thanks once again to the Nelms boys for the interview as well. This has been like the Red Right Hand episode. Submissions and Slashers, episode 54 is in the books. We'll be back next episode giving you guys all those normal things. What the hell streaming? Oh, I forgot to tell you what the hell streaming next week. Lovely, Dark and Deep. Stop motion, which we have. We will be reviewing that next week. And History of Evil, which we cannot wait to see. And we're going to be digging in to History of Evil on the show, fam. Shudder, we are looking forward to really, really digging into what's going on with the History of Evil. If you don't know what I'm talking about, get your ass on AMC right now. Get your AMC Plus subscription so you can get Shudder. Go on YouTube. Go on our website. Look up History of Evil. It is time, man. I'm so looking forward to that. And being able to dig in with you guys in it. But hey, all right, now we done. Now we out. You guys have a good rest of your weekend. We'll see you on the next one. Submissions and Slashers.